ShawAssociatesInc.com or by calling 530-674-1150. Shon Associates is proud to support community radio.
Bob Dana back on 93.3 The Q with another outstanding interview. This time it's with the city of Yuba City, I guess if you could say that, the people that run the place. We have Mayor Shon Harris and City Manager Diane Langley. Good morning to both of y'all.
Good morning.
So we were talking earlier, and one of the things you said you wanted to discuss was the upcoming revenue measure. So we'll start with you, Mayor Harris. Can you kind of explain to us what that is?
Well, we want to give folks an opportunity to discover and learn why we've come to this point. You know, our city council and our government, we do the best we can to do the best we can with what we have, and times started getting tough, and prices are going up everywhere, including with the city. And so we took a deep dive into the budget. We made necessary cuts where we possibly could, and now we've finally gotten to the point where we need to go out to the community, explain why, you know what, we need more than we're taking in. And so we're going to ask give them an opportunity to learn that and hopefully agree with us as we can continue the level of services they're used to.
Well, as everybody out there listening knows, the economy has really been kind of sucking wind lately,
Yes.
You know, and I'm sure that probably has something to do with it, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, need more money. Diane Langley, your city manager, could you pipe in your 2 bits on this?
Sure. This has been a long process with the city council. They designated an ad hoc to evaluate a potential revenue measure. Through that process, they identified that it was really important to be able to maintain local control. And so with a city-led revenue measure that would apply to Yuba City residents, those funds would come to the city for application within the city. And they've identified priorities of roads and public safety. And within public safety, it's specific to the fire department. We have a fire station number 1, which is across from the library in Yuba City. It was built in the 1960s. It needs to be replaced and upgraded and be built for future demand as we get close to needing an additional engine company out of that fire station. And then for the police department, what a lot of folks don't know is that the Walton area south of Franklin was annexed into the city in 2000, but they still get sheriff service, and the sheriff does a great job, but it's 24 years later, and the council would like to provide police services to that area. And so it will be a general revenue measure, which means a 50% plus 1 vote, and I know that for folks, they want to know how the money's specifically going to be spent. And so for the city council, it's going to be really important for them that we finance projects through bond financing, so the funds are encumbered, and so the public would know how the funds will be spent for years to come. And like I said, general revenue measure, but a focus on roads and public safety.
Do you have a website or anything like that where, like, if a member of the public was saying, they're basically asking the state for a pay raise for the city of Yuba City, maybe they need one because, like you said, it's been 24 years or something like that, and they want to find out where the money's going or how the measure is coming along. Is there a place where a person can find that information out?
Yeah, we have yubacity.net, of course, and then we have the another one. Let me see it here so I don't mess it up here. Yubacity.net, and you do the /revenue measure, rev measure. Basically, you find that also if you go click on City Hall, and then there's a link there as well.
And it's also, as part of that, the council will establish a citizen oversight committee, and we want those people that are going to be really critical of the revenue measure, how the money would be spent, to submit their names for participation in the oversight committee, because it's very important to council that as we talk about how these funds will be spent, that's how those funds are spent. Because I know there's a lot of concern it'll go into the general fund, you'll just spend it on other things, but it is a priority that it's roads and public safety. And like I said, they'll put measures in place to ensure that those funds go to those areas.
Right. And who are the people involved in the committee?
Well,
Are
that'll
they
be
other city officials or county officials, or are they volunteers?
so. The Citizen Oversight Committee will be volunteers within the community, so citizens, and council will designate that committee if the revenue measure is successful, and then we would establish a process to meet and have them review expenditures to ensure that it aligns with the intent.
So the oversight committee basically, correct me if I'm wrong, is overseeing what's taking place in regards to the revenue measure.
Right.
And Shon Harris, you being the mayor, you oversee the oversee committee to make sure they're overseeing the measure and making sure everything's getting done, right?
Technically, that's what you would say. But, we have that 1%. Should the revenue measure go through, the city gets only 1% of the 7.25 right now anyway. The rest goes to the state. So we have 1%. If we do the revenue measure, another 1%. So essentially, the city's income has doubled,
Right.
and compared to what we're getting for the state. So yeah, we thought folks who are a little skittish on taxes. Nobody likes taxes. I'm definitely included in that group.
I am too.
But we have to do what we have to do. We finally have gotten to reached the point where we need to ask. And, Yuba City, of all the cities in California, about 180 of them over the population of 50,000, we are still one of the 8 in the state that are at the minimum of 7.25.
Yeah.
We managed to make it this far. And so now here we are asking for a little bit of help. But basically, it will double our income. And we, like Diana just said, we have a lot of ideas for that money, things that we need. And we're trying to get ahead. We can hear the train coming, right? We're going to have some serious problems, and we want to get in front of it so we don't have to reduce services in the wake and then try to fix it. We're trying to do it now.
Well, one thing that I noticed personally when I've been all over the country, and I grew up, in this area. And just say, for one example, when I went in the Army, I came back, it was actually about 5 years later. I spent some time in Alaska. 5 or 6 years later, I could not believe the growth in Yuba City. When I left, they called these the Twin Cities, Marysville and Yuba City, because they were so much alike, size-wise, et cetera, et cetera. And when I came back, Yuba City was, in my opinion at the time, huge compared to what it was. Well, even since then, I've left and come back. Every time I leave and come back, it's bigger.
Right.
The roads, you see roads being taken care of from time to time, this, that, and the other thing. It seems to be growing. And so obviously, the hierarchy of Yuba City is doing a good job with their money. But it's had to have been kind of tough over these past several years, because even on the small scale, like myself going to the grocery store or getting gasoline, the economy is really difficult. Things are getting more expensive, but a lot of people in the city are not getting a pay raise to adjust their finances to the way the economy, the $6 gallon of milk, et cetera, $10 box of Captain Crunch, That's the small level. I would imagine, or I guess I should say I can't imagine what it would be like for the two of you trying to budget out an entire city's expenditure. Especially when you haven't had a pay raise for the city in, 24 years, right?
It is difficult, and with the roads, we all drive Yuba City roads. A lot of them are in terrible condition. It's a backlog of $150 million, of which the main roads, the arterials, that equates to about $50 million. $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to in terms of road repair. It's prices have gone up so much, and I think another main element of this revenue measure is that Yuba City is partnering with Sutter County. So even though it's going to be a Yuba City-led revenue measure, we are working on a tax sharing agreement to share a portion of the proceeds with Sutter County to go towards services that support Yuba City residents are Sutter County residents. We are all part of Sutter County, and so part of the funds would go to support the sheriff, the DA, roads, and other things that support Yuba City services and Sutter County services.
So when it comes to who does this benefit, as far as city and county, is basically all of the above.
Correct.
And I think it's necessary. And, speaking of the word necessary, yes, you're right, Mayor. I hate taxes too, but they are necessary. It's what pay for our firemen, our police officers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's nice to see that the tax money is going into making the place better, making lives better. Firemen, law enforcement, people that protect us, people that put out our house when it's on fire, et cetera. But how is this going to affect the taxpayers in the Yuba City area and even the Sutter County area, because Sutter County is going to benefit as well? How does it really affect Joe Doak the Ragman sitting down doing his taxes at the end of the year in Yuba City?
Well, there are many ways. They will definitely reap the benefit of what we're going to be able to provide with the additional revenue. And also some folks in town, everyone who comes through town, whether they're visiting or not, will also pay a share of that. If they buy anything, they will be affected from them too, right? So they will have the benefit of the additional resources, our better roads, and also in a strange way will be saving money, because there's certainly we get to on top of our road problem, the more money we're going to be saving, because the longer we wait, it exponentially increases, and we can't go down the dirt road, so we need to get in front of it, like we were talked about earlier, so it save us money in the long run.
Right, and obviously, as everyone knows, our crime rate kind of climbs up with the bad economy. The bad economy does have an effect on the crime rate. And what are you going to do when crime is raising, but we still have the same number of firemen, the same number of law enforcement that we had before the economy took a jump? That affects the people too, right?
Well,
you have
absolutely.
less cops. Less cops and less firemen.
We talk about homelessness too, right?
Yeah,
so we want to try to address that a little more, ratchet up our response to that to try to make some headway on that. What I would label as a crisis. And so if we just let go of the wheel, stand by, because it's just going to get worse. So we have to get in front of it. And that's
so
what we're trying to do.
some of this money from the revenue measure, that's going to be applied to the homeless problem.
Definitely.
Yeah, one of the things that we hear from our businesses is that just the amount of debris and stuff that they deal with, part of this would be to create what we're calling a clean team, which would be a dedicated crew that would be available 7 days a week that businesses could call. If there's a mess in their front door, they can call the clean team and they'll come pick it up. And when there's not something for them to address, then they'll be going throughout the city, picking up debris, picking up shopping carts, all of those things. And then we have 2 dedicated homeless liaison officers. As part of this, we'd hire another, what we call a CSO. And then we'd also look at somebody to assist us with getting services available to help people when they're ready for services, get them into the services that they need.
That sounds pretty interesting. And it's if I'm going to have to pay taxes, that's how I want it to go. And I'm kind of glad to hear it. I love Yuba City. I love the whole area here. That's why I keep coming back. I'm a native here, really. And it's nice to see city leaders, the mayor, planner, city manager, whoever's involved in spending my tax money, coming on live on the air and explaining to us where it's going to go. Because a lot of the time we don't know until a measure has already been passed, and we say, where did it went?
Yeah.
Instead of where did it went, you're telling us where it's going, and it sounds good.
That's one of the reasons why we have the Citizens Overview Panel. What's the name?
Oversight Committee.
Oversight Committee, there you go. And so that's why we put that in there, for the exact same reason you just said. It's not just us here, one and done, explaining everything. Folks will have an opportunity to sit down and dig down deep into everything and the details of how the money is spent later on. I think we're going to have several members on that panel, and we still have an opportunity for folks to express their interest if they would like to.
Well, that sounds good to me, and like I said, it's good to hear you guys coming on and telling us where the money's going to go before it's gone, beforehand, so we can all know. And, maybe you guys ought to run for Senate.
No. I would say if there's anybody in the public that would be interested in meeting with us, we are willing to come to neighborhoods, stand in the street and discuss this. We're willing to go talk to anybody about this, and it's really an informational. It's not to try to convince anybody. It's just to provide information so people can make their own choice.
Right. And in the meantime, if people do want to know more information, correct me if I'm wrong, they can go to yubacity.net/revenue or rev measure.
Yes.
Rev measure. Yubacity.net rev measure.
Yes.
If you want more information on where the upcoming revenue measure is going to be spent, you can do that. Mayor Shon Harris and City Manager Diane Langley, both from Yuba City. Thanks for being on the air. It's informative. Thanks for being on the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you.